Hey, what's up guys? I'm C Love. Happy birthday or anniversary if you've got one of those today. I sure appreciate you stopping by. If you've been here before, you know that we love floating bed frames and LED lights. So far posted on this channel, you'll find a video each for the king, queen, and full-size floating bed frames with a headboard for the king and the queen. Over time, and especially during the summer of 2023, I've gotten many requests for the twin size, and I've heard you. This one is pretty long and narrow, but I think we're going to make it work. Even though I don't have a twin size mattress and box spring, I took the time to build the bed frame just to show you how to build one for yourself. Come on, let's take a look. The first thing I'm going to do is take some maple box stock that I have and make some test cuts. I'm going to build this bed frame a little differently than the ones in the past, but if you like the original style, I'll tell you how to build this one like that too. Right now, I'm just eyeballing the miter saw being at 45 degrees. This will be important later in this project as I want the corners of the bed frame to match up as nicely as possible. Up next, I'm going to dig through my scrap pile to grab what I can to help save some money on this project. Of course, I found several pieces I can use, but if you're starting with nothing, I'm going to recommend 6 2x6 8-footers and 3 2x4 8-footers. This bed frame is going to be a little longer and a little wider than the actual size of the mattress and box spring because I wanted to lower the center of gravity and have a little pocket for the box spring to sit in so that hopefully this bed frame won't tip from side to side. After I've made my cut list, I'll go ahead and cut the scraps to length before I go and purchase the rest of the materials that I'll need. I'll cover the measurements later, but I'm going to skip the rest of the cuts for now and get straight to the sanding. Using a 5-inch random orbital sander, I'll use 80 grit sandpaper on the pieces for the base to remove the ink from the mill and the surface imperfections on the wood. These pieces won't be touched or seen, so you don't need to spend a long time doing this part. Make it look nice, smooth, and clean, and let's get on with it. I'm going to sand the 2x4 joists in the same manner that I did the base pieces. Again, nothing super fancy at all, just clean them up. For the frame, I'm going to spend quite a little bit more time. You've seen this on this channel before, but I'm going to sand each of the 4 pieces of the perimeter of the frame to 80 grit, 120 grit, and finally 220 grit, taking the time to pop the grain in between each one. You do this by using a wet cloth towel and wiping the board down, letting it air dry before you sand to the next one. This makes your boards unbelievably smooth and is worth the effort if you'd like to try it out for yourself. While I'm handling these perimeter boards, if anyone knows what these blue streaks in this one are, I'd sure love to hear from you in the comments section. I've never seen this before, but it looked interesting, so I grabbed it for this build. And before I forget, I did put a 45-degree bevel on all 4 long sides of the perimeter boards, and I tried to show you what that's going to look like right here. Okay, let's get to building this thing already. I couldn't decide where I wanted to build it, so I'm kind of all over the place. I'll secure these perimeter pieces together using 2 2-inch L-shaped corner brackets at each corner. As I mentioned earlier, I mitered the corners for the frame pieces. If you're going to do this, I'm going to recommend you cut the longest part of the board to 105.41 centimeters. That's 38 inches for the width of the bed, 3 inches for the width of the boards, and a 1/4 inch for the box spring wiggle room. You'll need 2 of those, and they're going to be the head and foot pieces. For the side boards, you're going to need 2 boards that measure 199.39 centimeters at the longest part. That's going to be 75 inches for the length of the bed, 3 inches for the width of the boards, and a 1/2 inch wiggle space for the box spring. If you aren't going to miter your corners, I'd recommend 2 boards at 105.41 centimeters and 2 boards at 191.97 centimeters. You will secure them together by going through the head and foot boards first into the side boards. Make sure your boards are as close to 90 degrees to each other as possible. This will ensure a tight fit once all the screws are tightened down. The joist for this build will be 97.99 centimeters in length. That's 38 inches for the width of the bed plus a 1/2 inch of wiggle room. These joists should fit nicely inside of your sideboards. Secure these joists to the sideboards with 3-inch long screws going through the sideboards into the joists. The joists should be spaced between 38 and 45 centimeters apart. As you can see, I used 2x4s for the frame joists and 2x6 for the frame perimeter boards. The 2x4 is about 2 inches shorter in height when it is standing next to the 2x6, so I'm going to put these joists about 1 inch from the top and bottom of the frame, running in through the middle of the 2x6s. This will allow the frame to sit a little lower on the base and will also leave that pocket for the box spring to sit in. You may be wondering why I'm building the frame first, and this is because in my experience, this is just the best way to do it. Take the time to prepare and assemble your frame as nicely as possible and set it off to the side where it will be out of the way for the next step. This, of course, is going to be the base assembly. This part is super easy and should go pretty quick. I mentioned earlier that I don't have a twin size bed setup, so I can't reliably test the stability of this build. I like these frames to be solid and stable before you put the mattress on there, so there should never be any questions about whether or not it will tip from side to side. I think I cut the head and foot pieces a little too short, and I'm going to show you that this one does tip with nothing loaded on it, but I'm going to give you a different set of measurements that will make your bed frame you build more stable. I'm going to recommend you cut your base side pieces at 163.19 centimeters. For the head and foot pieces, mine were 24¼ inches, but I'm going to want you to cut yours to 66.04 centimeters. Hopefully that little extra length will give a lot more stability. Secure these pieces together with 3-inch screws going through the side boards first into the head and foot boards. Next, I'll attach the whites as usual. I went with the same brand but a different style of whites this time, and I wasn't really impressed at first. These are the non-waterproof version of the same whites that I usually get, and they seem pretty flimsy, but once I got working with them, they were actually very easy to use, especially when rounding the corners of the base. I think I like these, so I'll link both versions in the written description down below. After I finish attaching the lights to the base, I'll plug them in and position the frame on top. I'll spend as much time as needed to make sure that it is centered over the base on all sides before I start securing them together. Do this with 4 2-inch L-shaped corner brackets where the corners of the base meet the joists in the frame. I'd recommend using 1¼ inch drywall screws instead of the screws that are included with the brackets. Those are going to hold on a whole lot better, I'm sure of it. Getting close to the end here, I'll show you again that this baby does tip with nothing loaded on it, and this base is a little more narrow than the one I've recommended for you. As always, I appreciate your time and support on this channel. Please feel free to reach me with any questions you may have with your build. Additionally, if you found this video informative or helpful at all, go on and share it with a friend or a family member. Both of us will be grateful. Stay tuned. Sooner or later, I'll get around to posting the video for this wishing well that I built from scratch.